Okay, so yesterday we saw the din of biyom hinchilu b'haya biyom hinchilu as banov. So it says the day that he bequeaths to his sons. So the Gemara first had a shiloh. You mean only if he dies during the day is their inheritance? If not. So Abaya suggested. So Abaya wanted to suggest to Rabba Bar Chanina, perhaps it means the din of Yerusha, that the din of Yerusha is only judged, in other words, a din during the day and not at night. And he brought a raya from three people who visited personally Mavaka Chayla, and he gives them whether there's a din of Eidus. We said they could be Eidim, or they could be what? Or they could be Dayanim. They could be Dayanim. And we said that's only during the day, but not at night. If at night they can only be Eidus, but they can't be Dayanim. So therefore the next day, Rabbi Avi, how are you? And therefore the next day, nice to meet you, Rabbi Avi's son. So therefore the next day, they wouldn't be able to testify because Ein Eid Asadayan. So since they became Eidim at night, the next day when it's possible to have a judgment, because it's daytime, Ein Eid Asadayan. And therefore, that's what Abaya suggested to Rabbi, what's the name? To Rabba Bar Chanina. And Rabba Bar Chanina said, Einachinami. He said, Einachinami, that's exactly what he meant. That's where, so those are three lines from the top on Kuf Yudalit Amid Aleph, that he answered, Einachinami, that's exactly what I meant. That's what Rabbi Bar Chanina told Abaya. So that's where we're holding. Now the Gemara is going to digress because we're going to bring in the three people visiting the Chayla. We're going to bring it again. So it says the Gemara on Kuf Yudalit Amid Aleph, Itmar, Kinyan, Ad Emasai Chayzer, the Kinyan, until what time do you have to go ahead and change your mind? Now, we've been speaking about kinyanim for many, many months and years, and we know there are many kinyanim, right? A kinyan meshicha, a kinyan mesira, a kinyan hagba. These are kinyanim that are done in the guf of the object that I'm acquiring. That's not a discussion. Once you make a kinyan in the chefts itself, in the object itself, there's no going back. What we're discussing is the symbolic kinyan of kinyan sudar, right? We said there's two types of chalipin. There's Moshech par for chamor, Moshech yopar, and for chamor, we're not even discussing that kinyan chalipin. We're discussing the kinyan sudar, where you go ahead, you take an object, and symbolically you go ahead. Now, since you didn't make a kinyan in the cheftza of the object, there's a svara to say that you can change your mind. So the Gemara wants to know, until which period in time can you change your mind by kinyan sudar, where you're not making a kinyan in the object itself? So says the Gemara, my kinyan ad emes eichayzer. Rabbi says, kol zman sheyoshvin. As long as they're sitting there, as long as you're sitting there, even if they're discussing other matters, they can go ahead and change their mind. So he's giving a gift. Shrimra is giving a gift, partial gift, not a full gift. A full gift, he could always change his mind if it gets better. He's giving it a partial gift. He makes a kinyan, and then they discuss. They discuss hypothetically if the Mets would be in the championship series, if the Yankees would be in the championship series. Hypothetically, they discuss that. Then the guy says, "Oh, I'm changing my mind." You will be able to change your mind. Why? Because since you're still sitting, even though you change the subject matter, you'd be able to change your mind. That's the opinion of Rabbi. Rabbi Yosef says no. Rabbi Yosef Amar Kolzman Sha Oiskim Ba'Oisei Inyan. As long as they're discussing the matana, as long as discussing the kinyan that he facilitated with the sudar. Once they change the subject, then no longer, despite the fact they're still sitting together, you would not be able to change your mind. Good. So again, Rabbi Yosef, as long as you're sitting there, and excuse me, Rabba, as long as you're sitting there, and Rabbi Yosef, as long as what is you mean oisik ba'oisei inyan, as long as you're doing that. Rabbi Yosef says, Rabbi Yosef, kabasi didi mistabra. Now, if you're wondering why we're bringing this Gemara, you're going to find out right now. It's mistabra like me. Rabbi Yehuda, shloisha shenichnasu levaker es achoyla. Now you have the segue, yesterday's daf. Three people who go ahead to be mevake echayla, ratzu kaisvin, ratzu isadin. If they want, they could write it up as a shtar, as what? As edim. They could write up the shtar as edim, or ratzu isadin. If they want, they can go ahead and have a psak. They're going to have a psak. Now, if you're going to tell me like Rabba, calls man sheyoshvin, that what? The whole time you're sitting, you can go ahead and change your mind. Leichish dilma, hadabei, maybe they'll go ahead and change their mind. Says Rashbam, 5 lines from the bottom. Leichish dilma hadabei. My kamar ratzu oisadin. Why do they say that you can possibly give a psak? The mashma be'oisa maimid, in that gathering, afa pisha dayin yoshvin, even though they're still sitting there, oisadin, gomer, v'amai, hakim the yochel aksaboy, v'yevatul adin, lehave din. Since the possibility to go ahead and be mevatul adin, it should not be a din. Okay, let's go back to our scenario. They make a kinyan, they make some type of kinyan, then they're sitting there, and you're telling me they can paskin, that, they can paskin the din. They then begin discussing the World Series, the Championship Series, right? And now you're telling me the whole time they're sitting there, they could go back, correct? Right? And so after they're sitting there, they can go ahead and say, what? Okay, it's over. It's over. So why could they go ahead and give a psak din? L'chayra, since I guess the good term would be the statute of limitations to go ahead and change your mind is still in vogue because you're still sitting there. Ella, it must be like me. You know why you can give a psak? Because once you finish discussing it, it's finito. Says Rabbi Yosef, if I have a good raya to me and a kasha on yours, shita rabba. How could you go ahead and say you're making a din if you still have the possibility of changing your mind? So it's a raya to me, because as soon as we stop discussing the kinyan, it's over with. Therefore, what? You can give a psak din. But according to you, that's the kasha, the raya to me and the kasha to you, Rabba. That's what he said. Now, the Rashbam is meduyik, fellas. Look what it says. Ve'amai, kivin the yochel achseboy, since he's able to go ahead and be mevatel din, loy have a din. In other words, even if they don't do it, it should not be done. The Rashbam is telling you, since the possibility exists to go ahead and be mevatel because you still haven't been sitting in that session, then even when you make the din, it should not be a din. You hear what he's saying? He's not saying hypothetically, if you would change, it's changed. He's saying it's not a din in the first place. Rashbam is saying, since the yicholius to change is there, it's not a din in the first place. That's what he's saying. That's what he's saying. Okay. Anyway, that's the raya that Rabbi Yosef wanted to bring to the shita. Ravashi, Amrisa l'shmaitza kamei de Rav Kahana. Rashbam says, I had this conversation, I had this vikuach with Rav Kahana, and he said, and Kahana said, Rabbi Yosef mi nicha. Rabbi Yosef, is it good? Is it any better? Maybe he'll change his mind, even when they're oisik boisei inyan. So good. The time frame is less than the time frame of Yoshvin, because I assume a person could still be sitting after the matter has concluded. They can still be sitting there and make small talk. On the other hand, once you conclude this statement, it's finished. But 1 second, even let's say at point A, I'm going to make the din. At point B, before I go ahead and conclude the statement, maybe I'll change my mind then also. In other words, as long as the yicholi is there to change your mind, why is it ever a din? Even though it's mistaber to say that you'll change your mind when you're oisik boisinyan rather than when you're sitting. It must be you went from one matter to another matter. In other words, you know why it's a done deal, guys? Because as soon as you finish the kinyan, you began discussing the World Series. So once you began discussing the World Series, it's finished. So the same thing by sitting. It must be hachanami, the kamu, they got up, the hadi yasivu, and then they sat down again. Okay, so therefore, you know why the din is a din? Since they got up and they ended that yeshiva, they ended that sitting together, now it's considered finished and a new start. Now, obviously, it's not so mistaber when a person goes ahead and gets up, he's going to sit down again. Rabbi Yosef felt that, good, it's true, a person could stand up and sit down, but he still held, it's not mistaber. Once people get up, they usually get up and they don't come back to the seat. Mashenki, when people are talking, obviously, go ahead and change the subject matter. That can be all the time. So that's why he held it's more mistaba, his shita. The hilchas like Rabbi Yosef, the halachas like Rabbi Yosef in 3 places: Bisadeh, regarding the Sodus that we had Dini de Mitzvah by Yerusha, we had Pasuk Daf Yebez, Inyan, that's the Inyan we're discussing now, that as long as they're Be'oisik in this Inyan, Ubemechza, that's we're going to see later on, and later on, if a man gives the Yerusha to half to his wife and half to his kid, divides it up, we'll see that Be'ez Hashem. Those three places, the halacha is like Rabbi Yosef. Now, so Shaila, does it mean those three places in Shas, or does it mean those three places when he argues with Rabbah? Now, here we have Machlokes, Rabbi and Rabbi Yosef. Rabbi says as long as you're sitting, Rabbi Yosef says as long as you're Isaac. So it's mashma from this Gemara, the only time in Shas that the halacha is like Rabbi Yosef, Keneged Rabbah, is these three places. But any other place, the halacha is going to be like Rabbah. Or does it mean that, no, the halacha is like Rabbi Yosef only in these three places? Again, there's a shaila in the Rishayim. Okay, now. We had the Mishnah, guys. Let's go back to the Mishnah. Go back to the Mishnah on Yesh Neichlin, okay? Go back. Daf Kuf Tes, I think it was. Yeah, Kuf Ches, Daf Kuf Ches. Okay? Yesh Neichlin Manchilin, Yesh Manchilin Leichlin. Okay, we had the father, son, father. Now, we get to the case, Ha'ish es imai, a man and his mother, Va'ish es ishtay, a man and his wife, Ubnei achais, and nephews, Neichlin, they inherit, V'loi manchilin, but they don't go ahead and bequeath. Ha'isha es baneha, V'isha es baila, V'achia aim, manchilin, they bequeath, V'loi neichlin, but they don't inherit. So look at the chart. Guys, all these cases are inverses of the other. Guys, look at this case. In this case, Ish, a mother, will be Neichlin. She will go ahead and she will bequeath for Loi Manchilim, but she won't inherit, correct? What's the opposite of that case? Manchilim Loi Neichlin, she'll bequeath and not inherit. The same thing, a Isha and a son. So the Isha gives, but she doesn't get. The mother gives, but doesn't get. That's the same, that's the inverse. It's the same case. This case, an Isha, a man will inherit his wife, but a wife won't inherit a man. An Isha, husband, wife. An Ish will inherit his what? He'll inherit his uncle, his mother's brother. He'll inherit his mother's brother, but he won't bequeath. The sons of Dinah will not bequeath to Ruvain. So Fred Marakasha, why was it necessary to say these latter three cases, fellas? They're the inverse of VK. I can figure this out, these cases from this case. If a man is Neichlin v'loy Manchilin, obviously an Isha is Manchilin v'loy Neichlin. If a man is Ish Neichlin v'loy Manchilin, so obviously Manchilin v'loy Neichlin. So that's the Gemara's kasha, guys. All these cases seem to be what? They seem to be the same case. Guys, you got it? Okay, it's in other words, the Gemara doesn't mix words. Why is the Gemara going ahead and mixing up these words? What are we doing over here? That's what the Gemara wants to know. L'chayra, it's the same case. Hasu lamali, hatanale reisha. You learned in the reisha already, right? Why did it say in the reisha? Ha'ish es imoi, va'ish es ishtoi. So it says the Gemara hakamash malan. The isha es bina, the isha, a woman, es bina inherits her son. Dumya the isha es baila. No, a son inheriting a woman is similar to what? A man inheriting his wife. In other words, in both cases, they're inheriting. In both cases, they're inheriting, right? In both these cases, they're inheriting. Here, the son's inheriting the mother. Here, the man is inheriting his wife. His wife over here, right? So now, we said yesterday, fellas, that, or 2 days ago, a man cannot go ahead and inherit his wife only in muhsik, but not roy. What did that mean? When the woman left this world, she had possession of something. A woman, when she left this world, she had possession of something, correct? If she possesses it, then the husband inherits it. If she possesses it, the husband inherits it. Good? What happens if the woman predeceases her own father? And now her father dies. She will not inherit the kever to give to her husband. Fellas, you remember we spoke out the following: the pecking order of Yerusha: son, daughter, father. Right? What happens if a man's lost his son, but he left a son, a grandson? Now, the father dies. He has a grandson and he has a daughter. Who's going to get first? The grandson's going to get first. Why? Because we spoke out. We view the son as if he inherits in the kever, and since he comes before the daughter, any part of his line will inherit. Any part of his line will inherit, right? That's that we spoke that out. That we view the son vis-a-vis Yerusha as if he's alive. The lashon of the Gemara is what? He will inherit by kever. He'll inherit by kever to bequeath to his son, the grandson of the mace. So therefore, he will come before what? Before the daughter. However, a woman who predeceases, right, her own father, therefore she won't inherit bekever to give to her husband. The husband's only to get b'muchsik, not b'roi. Roi would be, what would roi be? Something that potentially can come to her. How would it come to her? She died. Now her father dies, it comes to her, and she would give it to her husband. We don't say that. We don't say that, right? We don't say that. So what happens if her son dies first? So let's say you have a case like this. I don't think I put this on the board. Okay, let's say you have a case like this, fellas. You have a man is married to two wives. A man is married to two wives. Let's say Rivka and Pua. And they have, each one has a different child. One has a child Harry, one has a child Fred. Now, Harry and Fred have the same father, Yitzchak. Harry and Fred have the same father, Yitzchak, right? And brothers can go ahead, what? And inherit from each other. So we have the setup. Harry and Fred are paternal brothers, and they don't have the same mother. Now, let's say Rivka, Fred's mother, it's like Yavamis, guys. Let's say Rivka, Fred's mother, right? She dies. Let's say Fred dies. If Fred dies before his mother, Fred will not inherit to go ahead and bequeath to Harry. Again, paternal brothers, right? Rivka, Fred dies before his mother. A son inherits a mother, correct? But Fred will not inherit his mother to bequeath to his brother. So it's the same thing. Just like a woman, bekever, will not go ahead and bequeath to what? To a husband, so too a son bekever will not bequeath to his brother. And that's what we're learning from our Mishnah. Let's see it inside. Okay, I spoke it out. Let's see it inside now. Fred the Gemara Hasulamali, Hatanale Reisha, Ha'ish es imoy, Va'ish es ishtoi. Says the Gemara Kamash Malon. The Isha es bina, Dumya the Isha es baila. We're going to compare a woman, a son inheriting a woman, versus just like a husband inheriting his wife. Ma'ish es baila. Just like a woman to her husband. Eina bal yorish es ishte bekever. He's only going to get b'muchsik, not b'roi, even though it could possibly, even though she's dead, and then when her father dies, we won't say she inherits to give to her husband. Af isha es bina, so too the nechasim of a mother to a son, eina ben, the son Fred will not inherit, Yovish es imai will not inherit Rivka, but kever lahanchel la'achin to give to his brother Harry, who is from another mother but the same father. Got that? Yes, no, maybe we're good. Yeah, you're all good. Okay. So that's what the Mishnah said, guys. That's the case of the Mishnah. By telling us the inverse, you're telling me just like the din over here that a husband does not inherit bekever, so to a ben doesn't inherit bekever. Okay, now Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Mishum Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Shimon, Devar Torah, Ha'av Yorish es bino, the Isha Yereshes es bina. Devar Torah, a father inherits a son, and a woman inherits her son. This is not like our Mishnah. We just said that what? A woman is manchil, like manchilin, right? She yoirish, but she's not, doesn't bequeath. She bequeaths, but she doesn't get. But it's not like our Mishnah. However, it says Rabbi Yochanan, the name of Rabbi Shimon, Av Yorish es beno, Vish Yorish es beno. Okay, just give me 2. Okay, so he wants to say a chiddush that Rabbi Yochanan in the name of Rabbi Yehuda of Shimon, that just like a son inherits just like a father inherits a son, so too a mother inherits a son. So too a mother inherits a son. Mata. Okay, what's the reason? Back in the Gemara, Shenemar, 3 lines from the bottom. Shenemar, it says matos. So we makish mata aim lemata av. We make a hekish between the mata of the mother to the mata of the father. Ma mata av. Av yarish espino, just like the paternal side. The father inherits the son. Af mata aim, so too in the tribe of the mother, isha yareshes espina. So too an isha yareshes espina. So again, what does our Mishnah say? My Mishnah says, no, they don't inherit, right? So we have a kasha on Rabbi Yochanan. In the name of Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Shimon, we have a kasha from our Mishnah. That's the Gemara. That's our problem. Esivei, here's the kasha. Esivei kuf tesvav amid aleph. Esivei Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Shimon, va'isha espina, va'isha esbaila, va'achia aim, manchilin v'loy noichlin. A woman goes ahead, she does not inherit a son. She bequeaths to a son, but she does not inherit a son. Kasha from our Mishnah on you, Rabbi Yochanan, in the name of Rabbi Shimon, right? And for the Gemara, right? So Amalei, Rabbi Yehuda Shimon says, Mishnah Seinu Eni Yadeya Mishana. In other words, I don't know who said this Mishnah. I don't know. In other words, to me, I don't know. I don't know who said this Mishnah. In other words, it's not a Mishnah. It's not. He's saying it's not a limud. In other words, I hold that what? That a woman does inherit a son. A Mishnah says not. He goes, I don't know who learned the Mishnah. Fred the Gemara, 1 second. Why don't you tell Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Shimon, you know who our Mishnah is? Right? Rabbi Zechariah ben Hakatzav. It's Rabbi Chaya ben Hakatzav. Now, let's go back and remember who Rabbi Chananya ben Hakatzav was. Right? Who was he? He was the one who says that when the nechasim of a mother, a brother, and a daughter get equal. Pirish. When the pecking order, guys, when do we say this pecking order? When do we say this pecking order? Son, daughter, father. When do we say son before daughter? That's in the nechasim of the father. But in the nechasim of the mother, they're equal. In the nechasim of, right? In the nechasim of the father, in the mother, they're equal. That was now obviously he's not darshaning matos, because if he, right, obviously he's not darshaning matos, because if he did, he would say, just like by the father the son gets first, so too by the mother the son gets first. Again, one more time. Our Mishnah doesn't darshan matos. Why? Because matos means that just like a father gets, just like a son inherits a father inherits a son, so too a mother inherits a son. That's if you learn matos. Now, says we asked from our Mishnah that a mother does inherit a son. Obviously, why? Because you're not darshaning matos. Says Rabbi Yehuda Rabbi Shimon, I don't know who doesn't darshan matos. There's no one who doesn't darshan matos. Says the Gemara, what are you talking about? I present to you Rav Zechariah ben Hakatzav. He doesn't darshan matos. How do you know he doesn't darshan matos? Because he holds that in the nechasim of the mother, they're equal. If he darshan matos, it would be the same thing. Father, son first, daughter first. Mother, son first, daughter first. But he doesn't hold son first, daughter first by mother because they're equal. He's not darshaning matos. So why do you go ahead and say, I don't know who doesn't darshan matos? I'll just give you, I present to you Rav Zechariah ben Hakatzav, who doesn't darshan matos by the fact that in the nechasim of the mother, they're equal. They don't go have the pecking order. If they darshan matos, they should be the same, son before daughter, just like the son before daughter in the nechasim of the father, so too the son before daughter in the nechasim of the mother. And obviously he doesn't say that. So it can't be. So that's what he says to them. So why? Amalei, back in the Gemara, let's say it's Zechariah ben Hakatzav, like Dorish Matos, and again, How do you know he doesn't darshan matos? Because he says a son and a daughter are equal by mothers nechasim, but by father he's moided that the son comes first. It says for another reason the Mishnah does not come out according to Rabbi Chananya ben Akatzev. For another reason it does come out according to Rabbi Chananya ben Akatzev. Okay, going back to I'm preempting the Gemara. Going back to yesterday's Gemara, fellas. Remember the case. You have Dina has two sons and a daughter. Dina has two sons and a daughter, Fred, Harry, and Sally. Comes along, Reuven dies. So Fred and Harry will inherit before what? Before Sally. They'll come first, before Sally. Okay, so now, says the Gemara. Our Mishnah said the sons of a sister. So the nephews will inherit Reuven. The son Dina's sons will inherit. V'tana b'nei achos, only the sons, v'loi banos, but not the nieces. V'amrinan l'mai hilchasa. What do you mean they won't inherit, guys? They do inherit. Sally does inherit Reuven, her uncle. So what does it mean? V'amrav sheishes l'kadein. It means what? To come first. That Fred and Harry will come before Sally. Right, guys? Fred and Harry. Sally will inherit Reuven, her uncle, but only if there's no Fred and no Harry. But if there's a Fred and Harry, okay, now. Bisal kadaitach, masis Reb Zechai ben Akatzev ha'amar, echad ben, v'echad abas, shavim b'nichsei ha'ein. They're both equal in the nechasim of the mother. So what's going to happen? Dina is going to inherit Reuven, and now she's going to bequeath to what? To Harry, Fred, and Sally. But one second. You're telling me Sally comes after Fred and Harry, but according to Rabbi Chanina, Rabbi Zechai ben Akatzev, they should be equal. Ella must be the Mishnah is not according to Rabbi Chanina, Rabbi Zechai ben Akatzev. So Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Shimon Lechayev is right. There is no one who darshans matos. So I can darshan matos and say, just like a father inherits a son, so to a mother inherits a son. Our Mishnah says not. Our Mishnah doesn't darshan matos. Rabbi Chanina, Rabbi Zechai doesn't darshan matos. Doesn't make a difference. He can't be the Tana of our Mishnah because of another technical point. Because he says that what in the nechasim of the mother they're equal. We're proving over here in the nechasim of the mother they're not equal. Svetana didon mimanavshach. Our Tana mimanavshach. Okay, you're right. Now our Tana mimanavshach. He darish matos. If he darshans matos like Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Shimon, ishanami tirish espina. Just like a father inherits a son, a mother should inherit a son. And Eloi darish matos, and if he doesn't darshan matos, ben de koiden labas b'nichsei minole. How does he know that what? That a ben comes before the nechasim before a daughter. Guys, if you darshan matos, here's the way you darshan it. Just like a son comes before a daughter by the nechasim of the father, so too a son comes before the daughter in the nechasim of the mother, which is what we hold. But if you don't darshan it, they should be equal, like Reb Zechariah. Again, Reb Zechariah can't darshan matos, because if he would, fellas, look, father, son before daughter, mother, son before daughter. Therefore, and since Reb Zechariah holds they're equal, he doesn't darshan matos. Fred the Gemara now, according to our Tana of our Mishnah, Miman of Shach. If he does darshan matos, then a mother should inherit his daughter. Just like a father inherits his son, a mother should inherit a son. So to a mother should inherit a son. And the Mishnah says no. And if he doesn't darshan matos, how does he know that in the nechasim of the mother, that the son precedes the daughter? That's the problem. Says the Gemara, I'll tell you what. La'olam, I'll tell you the dorish matos. He taka darshans matos. All right, so what's the question? If he darshans matos, then in fact, why does a mother not inherit a son? Right? If you're darshaning matos, why does a mother not inherit a son? On that, v'shayni hacha, the Amar Kra, because the pasuk says, the cholbas yoreshes nachla. The pasuk says that we have this. The first one, any bas yoreshes nachla. Yoreshes, she inherits. Ve'ena mereshes, but she doesn't bequeath. She inherits, but she doesn't bequeath. So in other words, he darshan matos, but there's a gezerah shava, there's a miyat to tell me it's true. Guys, I darshan matos. And therefore, since I darshem atos, right? Right? Since I darshem atos, really, just like a father inherits a son, so too a mother should inherit a son. However, since it says Yoreshes, she bequeaths, but she doesn't inherit, therefore I have exerts the cusset not.